kind of the big news today, or one of the most interesting talking points in sports today is Dan Le Batard, ESPN host, goes ham on the hire of Magic Johnson for the Los Angeles Lakers. And Keshawn Johnson claps back. So here's the quote from Dan Le Batard. And for the record, I mean, I like Dan Le Batard. I never met the guy. I think he's okay. I mean, I've seen his show before. I don't get the whole premise of it, having his pops there, acting like some type of crazy deranged dude. I don't get that. But I don't have any particular beef against Dan Le Batard. He has his own show on ESPN, The Puppet Factory. Here's a quote from Dan Le Batard after Magic Johnson got the job for the Los Angeles Lakers. What you've got here, though, is a testament to the power of fame and a testament to the power of a modicum of charm. Because Magic Johnson is charming, but Magic Johnson was given a late-night television show because he's famous and charming, failed in 11 shows. Magic Johnson was given a head coaching job of the Lakers because he's famous and charming, failed in 16 games. Magic Johnson, not interesting as a broadcaster, given broadcasting opportunity after broadcasting opportunity because he's famous and charming, and now he gets to run the entire Lakers organization because he's famous and charming. That's amazing. Yeah. So Keshawn Johnson, something you got to remember in this story, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, something you got to remember in this story, Keshawn Johnson is from L.A. So Keshawn Johnson is probably the biggest Laker fan that you can think of. He probably is a fan of the Los Angeles Rams and anything to do with L.A., the Dodgers or what have you, the Kings. So Keshawn, on a response on a radio show, I believe, says, quote, I'm going to read between the lines. I'm going to read between the lines on this one. To me, he's saying because he's a black dude, that's the way I look at it. The co-host at the time is a guy named Sedano. No, I know Dan. That's not true. Johnson, I don't know him, but that's the way I look at it. His partner, once again, chimed in. If you are insinuating that Dan is like being prejudiced here, Johnson says, that's what I'm insinuating. And then they go back and forth, and basically Keshawn Johnson just defended Magic Johnson and him getting this job to the highest of defendable, and saying that everything that Magic Johnson's done in his life and the way that Dan Le Batard characterized, Magic getting this job and all of the failures that he's had in the past is totally inaccurate. And he gave an example about the Lakers and the 5-11 record when he had 16 games coaching at the end of the '94 season, and talked about the fact that late night show wasn't totally entirely his fault, and so a bunch of other things. So he defended him to the hilt, man, and basically said that Dan Le Batard is wrong about what he's saying. And listen, I talked about this yesterday, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. I think it's fair to kind of say to yourself, Magic Johnson really doesn't have any front office experience. How does he get the job? Well, he gets the job because that's what happens in basketball in particular, and in a lot of sports. It's almost like there's this thing out there where you're rewarded in sports for on-the-job training. Okay, Magic Johnson, the greatest basketball player of all time, he may not understand the ins and outs of the front office, which, by the way, Magic is going to be more so of a figurehead and a recruiter than the guy that's going to be in there doing all of the contracts. That's Rob Pelinka guy that they brought in. That's what he's going to do. So let's be honest. Magic Johnson's a figurehead. Magic Johnson's a beloved player name in Los Angeles. In basketball in general. Once again, he's going to be the guy that seals the deal. He's going to be the guy that gets free agents in there, and because they're a fan of Magic Johnson and everything he's done business-wise in the world. And by the way, Magic may have had a couple of times in his life where things didn't work out the way, but I would bet that Magic Johnson's successes on the court, off the court, in life and business far outweigh the things that he's failed at. Okay, so let's just throw that in there. But Magic Johnson's in there to be the guy that gets players to sign with the Lakers, okay, to add a face to the organization. He's a figurehead. And the problem that I have, once again, I don't have a problem with you questioning a guy with little front office experience being the GM or the president of basketball operations. And I even mentioned it yesterday myself. Like, Magic has a little sordid past as far as his success in a management type role when he was the coach of the Lakers back in the day. But that's it. I don't have a problem with Magic Johnson getting this job. You know why? Because in relative terms to getting a job, because you know somebody or because you have this certain status, you may not have a big background or your resume may not state that you are the most qualified person for this job. In relative terms to how many times that scenario has played out in this country's history, one job for Magic Johnson compared to, I don't know, 50 million jobs for every white guy that owns some company and gives a job to his friend, his boy, his cousin, a dude that he plays golf with. We see it all the time. In relative terms to how many times that's happened in this country's history, where it's pertaining white people, in relative terms to Magic Johnson getting one stinking job, is not even comparable. It's not even comparable. It's not even comparable. So Magic Johnson gets the job. Last week, John Lynch got a job and he wasn't darn qualified. I mean, it happens all the time on the other side. Okay, so yeah, technically, based on resume, Magic Johnson may not have been more qualified than a bunch of other guys that have GM front office experience on their resume. You know, 10, 15, 20 plus years or whatever. Yes, that's probably accurate. But in relative terms to how much that scenario plays out, once again, in this country's history, in every level, in every different type of business that you can think of, I mean, it's no big deal. You can goddamn give us one or two. Damn. Shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, damn. And I always say this, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. I always say this, man. Like, if it wasn't for affirmative action, everybody hates affirmative action. All of our white brother, and they always talk about affirmative action is wrong. Is wrong? If we didn't have affirmative action, if they didn't have something like the Rooney Rule in the NFL, niggas would never get a job. What? I mean, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. If there weren't affirmative action, if there wasn't something holding the fire under the feet of owners, business owners, and these companies to give black people a look, okay, and to try to employ, you know, black candidates with the same resume as our white counterparts, we would never get a goddamn job. So F you. Once again, I don't know how Magic's going to do. But as I said yesterday, I like the fact that they wiped the slate clean. All right, I'm okay with that. I don't know if he's going to be successful or not. I continue to think back to what happened when he took over as the team. But am I mad that they gave the greatest basketball player I've seen in my life, the greatest Laker that I've seen in my life, you know, a job in the front office to try to change the makeup of the organization? I have no problem with that at all. Hopefully it works, but I have no problem with that at all. What are your thoughts?